Bustld Show. At Bustld, we believe that every engaged couple should find wedding vendors that fit their style, their budget, and their personality without all the stress. Hi, I'm Ryan, and this is my wife and co-founder, Sammy, who is also a wedding planner here in our home of Charlotte. Today, we are going to be talking about baked goods.
Yum.
Yes. I love cake, and it's one of my favorite topics. I wish we had cake for this podcast and this show,
we're
but
definitely gonna have to get cake after we talk about
I
it.
think
This show.
I think that we should. I'm a little disappointed in myself.
Yeah, you should have prepared better.
I should have prepared better.
Cake.
Yeah, I'm like worried about what questions I'm gonna ask and not what cake I'm gonna be eating.
Exactly.
Anyways, we're having too much fun apparently, and we're not hopped up on cake. But so, as far as like hiring a baker, we'll start with some things that you need to know, and then we'll start asking some more fun questions and kind of dive into some of the more fun things about finding your cake or whatever it may be. So, when you're looking for your baker, when should you start?
Typically, you want to start looking for your baker around the 6-month mark. A few months before if you have somebody who you have your heart set on, or maybe 5 months if you're a little more flexible.
Okay, so it's on towards the end of the vendor process.
It is, yes.
This is why it's so important to manage the budget, though.
That's right, because you don't want to not have enough budget left for your cake.
That's right. That would be a
Dessert
shame.
matters.
Yeah, you don't want to have a 3-tiered cupcake.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just one single cupcake.
Well, 3. They'd be stacked up though.
Okay.
Yeah. Fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So 6 months out, and when you start booking your appointments with your bakers, what should you bring to those appointments to maximize your time and to make sure you pick the right one?
So typically you can do a tasting as well during this appointment. So you'll want to make sure
That was my favorite part.
Yeah. So you want to make sure that you pick flavors that you're excited about and that you most likely want to include in your cake. And then you also want to bring pictures with you. So any kind of inspiration photos you have. It's also a good idea to bring pictures of your dress, because that can bring inspiration to the cake. And then make sure that you're obviously at this point you most likely should know your wedding venue.
Yeah.
So you'll want to talk about that too, because that can impact the style of your cake.
Okay. And I know one thing that you say with a lot of the other categories too that I think really resonates here, at least for me, is to go into these appointments with an open mind. Because I know our wedding cake, we had like lemon and raspberry, 2 flavors I never would have picked in a million years, but because we worked with such a great baker, it was unbelievable. So I think let the baker kind of guide you and let you try different things.
Yeah, when you select your favorite flavors, you should also ask, if they have any signature flavors. So, if they're known for their almond cake,
sure,
and you wouldn't necessarily have tasted that, make sure you taste it, because there's a reason they're known for that.
Yeah.
And that or ask them what their most popular flavor is, and so that you're tasting something that is probably going to end up being your favorite, even if you didn't know it going into it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So instead of going to a traditional baker, why can't I just go to the grocery store or just have my friend bake it for me?
So you certainly could, but a traditional baker has years of experience, and they know what is going to work in your venue and how to put together, a properly tiered cake that's not going to fall over or collapse in itself or melt or all the other horrible things that could happen to this beautiful cake that you paid a lot of money for. And they'll also know how to properly prepare the cake so it tastes fresh. So all of those things is something that a professional baker is going to provide you guidance on, and that's why you should hire a professional as opposed to picking up something from a grocery store or from a friend. I
mean, I know I've heard horror stories about when friends put cakes together and they don't even know about dowels, and it holds the cakes together, and they've used toothpicks. Or not cupcakes, toothpicks. And I guess you could use cupcakes.
I guess.
Use toothpicks, and then the cakes slide off and hit the ground. And you really don't want that on your wedding day.
No, there's a reason you should trust a professional for your wedding day, and that holds true for your cake as well. It may seem super simple. It's just hey, it's baking a cake. I can do that, I do that at home for my birthday party, but it's not the same thing.
That's for 8 people, not 125.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the same thing. It takes an incredible amount of experience and, just knowing what to do and how to make these cakes look, and not only look great, but taste great too.
Yeah, and I think that's the art, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. And then another common question that comes up that you don't necessarily think about when you're going into the appointment is delivery fees. Is that something that you should have the baker do, or could you or a bridesmaid or groomsman go and pick it up? What are your thoughts on that?
So I definitely would say if you're not going to have it delivered, it shouldn't be you, right? You have enough things going on that day.
A couple things, yeah.
If you have a small cake, so 1-tier cake, maybe 2-tier, talk to your baker about it. Or you're doing cupcakes or an alternative dessert, maybe you could schedule it for a pickup, and then I would make sure that you have someone who's really responsible but is not a part of the wedding party.
You seem nervous talking about it.
I know, it makes me nervous talking about it. Somebody who's really, really responsible and is not going to forget to go pick up the cake, to go pick it up, because you certainly don't want it to be someone in the wedding party, because they're going to need to be there for hair and makeup and wedding, photos. Same with mom and dad. So someone else that's responsible you could use for that. But if it's anything over really a 2-tier cake, no, you have to have it delivered, because it could literally collapse in your car on the way there, and then what?
Well, how would you even secure it?
Right.
And what if you like to drive fast? Not that you should not.
But a lot of bakers actually, when it's a larger tier cake like that, they actually transport it separated and then they build it on site.
Oh,
because
cool.
You don't want it to fall apart in the car, right? And so then only so much structure you can give. What if you hit a bump or a pothole? So that's kind of thing where it's worth it to pay for the delivery. Quite honestly, it's probably worth it to pay for the delivery anyways, because you don't have to worry about the stress of sending someone to pick it up. But if you're really cutting your budget and you're doing something small or mini desserts or cupcakes, that's something you could do. Just make sure whoever's picking it up has a clean car, They're not doesn't have their dog in the back of the car when they're picking it up, little things like that.
No, that makes sense. Something I wouldn't really think about.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So then kind of on to more of the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Does every baker let you taste test?
So most bakers do. Some have a fee associated with it, and some do complimentary tasting. So when you call the baker, just find out, is there a fee? How many people are, if it's, how many people are included in the tasting, or is it complimentary for up to 2, and then after that you pay?
What if you brought 30 people?
Yeah, that's probably not approved.
Okay, that's frowned upon.
That's frowned upon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so most do let you taste test. There's maybe a fee or no fee.
Correct.
Cool. Okay. Besides cake, what are some other fun alternatives that you've seen out there? I mean, we've seen cupcakes a lot.
You can do anything. It's so fun. I mean, a lot of people will do just a small cutting cake so they can still have that traditional, cake cut, but then do other desserts. So that could be a whole dessert bar of cupcakes and mini lemon squares and mini brownie bites, or cannolis and cookies, different things like that. Or you could do an ice cream bar. You could do pies. I mean, the options are limitless, really.
Yeah.
So if you're not a cake person, then think about what is your favorite dessert and go with that. Or if you have a family tradition, or you're Italian and you want to incorporate cannolis, maybe it's a summer wedding, so you want an ice cream bar so people can cool off, or something slushies, something fun. It's a great way to kind of show off your personality again through food with stuff that you guys really love, and that's important to the two of you.
I do think that's something that's really cool, that as weddings have evolved, is that now it's really trying to bring out more of your personality as a couple, and and kind of those things that mean something to you.
100%.
Okay, awesome. And then kind of speaking of, what are some fun ways to incorporate your style? And going back to cakes, what are some fun ways to incorporate your style?
So I think, find the things that you love on Pinterest and inspiration and things like that, but don't be so, again, kind of keep an open mind about it. I don't have to have this exact cake. Maybe incorporate, if you have a specific ring shape, maybe you could, we've had a couple that had incorporated little pearl shaped items that kind of were inspired by their ring, or maybe the lace from your dress could inspire some kind of the texture on your dress, or maybe there's something really cool in your venue that could inspire it. So you can always kind of take some inspiration from your style and your personal life as well, and bring that into it. Maybe don't go with a traditional white cake, do colored cake or sugar flowers or something like that really is going to be cool and different for you guys.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's pretty wild to see all the different ideas and styles that come out, because bakers really are artists, and there's a lot of like really cool things out there.
That's one of the great things about hiring a professional, right? Because they are artists, and they can really come up with something that's so cool that you could have never even have thought of. Like, you can be like, I like these 3 pictures, this is my venue, this is my dress, this is what my ring looks like, these are my colors, and they can like sketch something right there. Then you're like that's us. That's so cool. So it's really different, and that's why you hire a professional.
Awesome. Okay, and then last question before we head into the next segment. What is the difference between buttercream and fondant?
Yeah. So you'll probably have an opinion on which one you want to use. Buttercream is more of a traditional icing where, you know, it can be flavored, it could be almond or lemon, or, you know, colored and different things like that. Whereas fondant is a sheet that's going to be laid, kind of rolled out onto your cake. So it's going to be much thicker. So fondant is great if you want a really clean style, or you want something that's more structured or more like design heavy type cake.
Okay.
It has like a marshmallow flavor, but so it's not that traditional kind of icing flavor that you get with buttercream.
Gotcha.
Where buttercream is not going to be as perfect because it's being hand laid onto your cake. Now, a professional baker can still make it look super clean, but there will be more imperfections than there would be with fondant.
Sure. Okay.
Fondant's also more expensive, so that's something to keep in mind too. Depending on your price point, that might make a difference.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, thank you for sharing that. Now I would like to play the should I game.
All
right, so today you're going to decide between buttercream, fondant, or just something else. And if it's something else, you can say something else, or you can say what that something else is.
And I have to pick one.
You have creative freedom, and you have to pick one. I know you're not going to, but you could. You should. So, so I love delicious cake, especially the icing. Which one am I choosing?
So I'm already going to choose both. The first question.
Yikes.
I mean, if you like a more traditional icing, then buttercream is the way to go.
Okay.
But if you like that marshmallow flavor, and then fondant can be just as delicious when it's like made in-house.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. But if you're like, I love birthday cake and like traditional icing, then buttercream's the way to go.
Got it. Okay. I want a multi-tiered cake with an adorable couple on top.
Oh, well, that one could be either. Just buy the adorable little couple, right? And there's so many cake topper alternatives now that you can have little sayings, or, you know, it doesn't have to be just the traditional couple anymore.
True.
But yeah, either cake could work for that.
Okay. Yeah, like monograms and stuff like that.
Yeah. But you have to have cake. You can't necessarily do that on... You can do a little per person on pie. You'd probably sink in.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you wouldn't want that.
So I picked one.
Yeah. Okay, you picked 2. But, okay. We don't like cake.
Well, then don't have a cake. Do something different. Do pies or ice cream or donuts, cupcakes. You know, if it's really important to you guys, or maybe to parents, to have the traditional cake cutting, then you can appease them by having that small cake like we talked about. But there's so many options. Do what's right for you guys as a couple.
Okay, perfect. I want something very clean and modern.
Fondant is going to be the best one, yeah.
All right, I want a unique design like Bryant-Denny Stadium in Alabama, Roll Tide.
Just as a random thought.
Just as a cake, I just want the stadium.
Fondant,
it's on a Tuesday.
Fondant is going to be necessary for something like that.
Fondant, okay. Our reception is outside in August in Charlotte.
Well, it's going to be hard for any type of cake. If you're going to do buttercream, make sure it's delivered at the very last possible moment, and it's in shaded area, under a tent, and as cool as possible. Fondant's probably a little bit better option because it's a little less likely to melt, but it can still like droop and melt.
Right.
So again, same thing, you want it to be delivered. Just make sure you have a plan. That's the most important part of that question. Make sure you have a plan and the cake's being delivered like at the last moment it can, and that, it's going to be cut as early as it can so that it's not getting too melty.
Okay. Seems like you have experience with that. And we just want something very different.
Probably an alternative dessert, or you could really go either way. You could do a cake that's really different, like don't do a traditional white cake. You could do something that's navy or pink or something totally different like that. But also obviously having different desserts is is different because cake is more traditional.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you again for all of your insight as a planner.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. Actually, random public service announcement to all the grooms out there. Make sure you check with your spouse-to-be if you're going to smash their face with cake.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have their hair, their makeup, and all of those things done, and a lot of pictures are going to be taken. You don't want to upset her, even though it might be really funny.
Yeah.
To you, not to her.
Yeah, you should definitely feel that out and know if she's gonna think that's funny or not before you do it.
just some advice.